Well, hello everyone. We now have the wonderful Holly Smith. I'm welcoming you, Holly. I'm really honoured to have you here on our Entrepreneurs Gold Nugget series. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just super looking forward to having a chat.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. So I'll introduce you for those of you who are watching this either live or later. We have the wonderful Holly Smith, who is the most amazing young woman. She is a coach and an author of the book 30 Days to Happiness. And I'll let Holly talk more about that in a minute. And Holly works with individuals to create better habits to build the life and business they desire through her three-step happiness formula, which is health, habits, and happiness. So, Holly, would you like to add anything initially before we ask about what made you get into this business and why are you in it? Is there anything else you'd like to add about what you're doing right now and who you are and where you live and all of that?
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so I live in Brisbane. I'm in Brisbane, Australia, and yeah, I love it. I love it here. Can't complain. It's mostly always sunny, but no, that's pretty much it. Medium Bio pretty much explains it. So I coach pretty much business owners, entrepreneurs to create better time management, better habits, get organized, and also, pursue their business ideas and put a plan in place to actually achieve it. So yeah, I love what I do. I'm obsessed with it, and originally came from a fitness background. I still have a fitness business, but transitioning over to 30 Days to Happiness, which is my new company, and absolutely loving it.
Wow. So, Holly, we're really interested to find out a bit about your story and what brought you to this point and what made you get into this particular business and why you are in it. So, as I said to you when we were chatting earlier, you can go as far back as you like to tell us your story of, what drives you now, really.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And like I could be sitting here for half an hour talking about that one question because it's been, I'm still really young, but it's been such a journey for where I am now. So I guess when I through school, I was kind of like, where do I start? So I've got two businesses. I've got BizFit, which is my fitness business, which is that's a whole nother story. And then 30 Days to Happiness is kind of like entailed within that story from another story. So look, I pretty much grew up always like on acreage, small country town, always riding horses. My life was pretty much like competing every weekend, training them every day, selling them. Like that was pretty much my life. And I always just lived with my mum. My parents were never really together. I never saw them together. I don't really know what it's like to have a household with two people together. So that's kind of, obviously there was stuff that when I grew up, I had a few like, things psychological that I didn't actually realize affected me. And then when you go back into your past, you realize, oh, that's that because of this. And a bit similar to the conversation we had on Boss Ladies the other weekend. Or the other day. So yeah, that was interesting. Anyway, so yeah, I grew up, and then when I was like 16, both my horses died. We went off acreage, and because my purpose was always driven in my horses, and I've always been a very purpose-driven person. Like if there's always going to be an outcome, there's always a vision in mind. Otherwise, I felt like, what is life? So my purpose and attachment was like with my horses, and that was my life. That was it. My goal was to go to the Olympics for show jumping, and I was like getting closer, and I was fully into it. And then we had to move off acreage because of certain circumstances, and like being confined in a normal house. And I sound spoiled. I've always had a really good life, I'm not going to lie. Always lived on acreage, had my horses, and then my dad's always lived like at the beach or had boats and all sorts of stuff. So I've always had the Hannah Montana life, I call it, best of both worlds. But even though I've had a really good life, and I've always been, pretty much looked after, I always had to work for what I've had. So I've been working since I was 12. I've been super independent. I've always been a hustler, always making money, always a typical entrepreneur I am. And when I was 16, when I felt like I lost everything, right? I just got like super depressed. I hated life. And it wasn't just from that. It was from other things as well. Like, just not feeling loved and I could talk about this all day, but I got super depressed and I put on 10 kilos and I stopped. That's it, because I was always into sport as well. So I was always into sport, competing and like athletics and swimming every day for 2 hours. Like I was always an athletic person. So I stopped all sports, my metabolism slowed down, and then I got like, just super depressed, super unhappy, to a point where literally like, I mean, like all through my, like, I guess, my teenage years, like I was always just full of anger and like just really like a moody teenager. And I felt like I wasn't allowed to ever express my emotions because I would always get shut down. And I look back, I'm like, I definitely needed counseling or something. I need someone to talk to, because I held in my emotions for so many years that I think it finally broke me, to a point where I was like, nah, I just like, it got so bad. I just hated my life so much. And like, every day I was like, oh, is this going to be my last day? Is this going to be my last day? You know, one of those typical stories. And then one day I was just like, I pretty much was like, God, you know, take this away, take this pain, the suicidal thoughts, blah, blah, blah. And otherwise I'm done tomorrow. Like that's how deep I got. And like I woke up the next day and I believe God healed me. I was like literally never had suicidal thoughts ever again. So that's kind of like my miracle story. And then from there onwards, I went after school, went to the real estate industry, and then got paid $11.50 an hour, door knocked for a week, like hours on end, and cold called. I ran the whole office and I was getting paid so little that I actually had to get another job. So I got another job at F45. So I was working these 14, 16-hour days every day, got so burnt out. I literally, my lower back and my hips and my knees and all my joints gave way. I literally couldn't walk for 4 weeks. Like that's what burnout did to me. So then I created the habits to be able to still work long hours, but do it properly. And that's when I came up with the idea of BizFit. And then I started my own personal training business. And then I went online when COVID hit. And it was just at the same time that I went online that COVID hit. So it was awesome. 2 years of working on my business was awesome. And then I helped busy individuals basically put themselves and their health first, build that business up. And then through that time period as well, I wrote this book, 30 Days to Happiness. And, it took 3 years over a period to write. So it's like 30 days, 30 happiness habits that reconstruct your subconscious mind the way you think. So you can automatically do these habits on autopilot. And I was just talking to someone else the other day. She's like, Holly, I'm literally just so much happier. Like just starting my day off right and actually implementing small little habits that we forget about. So that's what it's all about. And it's the habits that pulled me out of a deep depression, helped me get over burnout. It's all those little habits that we forget about, simply like smiling or posture, hanging around with the right people, like watching what you actually speak outside your mouth and like what you listen to, like little tiny things. And then it goes deeper into financial happiness, like actually giving it to a higher power, being able to, live by purpose, find your purpose, live by your values. And it goes deeper into all those kind of philosophies. But so that's the book idea now. I launched the book this year. I created an accountability coaching program. So I've been doing accountability coaching for 2 years now. And I love what I do so much. So 30 Days to Happiness is just going to be an empire that I'm building, and just super excited.
Wow, Holly, what a story. That is amazing. You've mentioned so many things there that I could address and talk to. I don't know where to start. So
I know, right?
I love it though. It's fantastic. Excuse me. Something's tickling my throat. So I want to bring up a couple of things that you mentioned. One of them was that you always were quite driven with a vision, like even with your horses. And what a terrible thing that both your horses died. You said.
It was just so because I sold one and then he died because something happened, and then my project pony that I was originally going to sell also died, and I literally was like sat there and was like, oh my gosh, like what is life now? What do I do? I worked morning and night and every weekend, day and night, to like train and do whatever, and people in the horse industry will understand. But I was always the same with my swimming, my athletics. Like I did every sport under the sun, but I always, like something my mum always said to me was like, you always tried your best in everything you did. And that was it. And that I'm still like that to this day. I may not be perfect in some things, but I'll still try my best. Like even with my bodybuilding competition, like I've been prepping for 2 years, which is coming up in, oh my gosh, so close. And I put my heart and my effort and just discipline into it. And it has been such an emotional journey, especially my first prep. It just stuffed me around mentally, physically, hormonally. But it taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about how much I could actually control my emotions. And this time around, just been so proud of myself because I've got a vision, right? But it's being able to implement the little habits, like being able to control your emotions and implementing that, and your hormones when they go out, when you're tired to still train, when you're exhausted. Like, it's little habits that pretty much are in my book that I also implement that have really helped me. But yeah, having a vision has always been something. I feel like I'm a visionary leader, I think they call it. Where that's just like my forte. Like, I'm always looking at the future. That excites me. The reason I get up every morning is to help you wake up happy. How can I do that? That's always like my mentality.
That's so great, Holly. And as you know, we both work in that area, and of course, that is something that some of it you may have learned instinctively or been given by your parents or whatever. And of course, many people, as you know, don't even work with a vision. They don't know that we can control our thoughts and our emotions, and they don't realize that that's what gives us our results. So that's why I think you're so amazing. You're so aware for a person of your age. So yeah, just love hearing your story. Now, the other thing that you mentioned, and I'm so sorry to hear that you had that deep depression for so long as well. And you said maybe it was a number of things, but not feeling loved was one of them. And yeah, I mean, even when you were saying, well, I had a great life, I had the best of, my dad was at the beach and my mum, we were always on the acreage. We had horses and we were in nature and animals. And I thought of that then, actually, when you were saying it, because I did know a little about you having had depression too. And I thought, feeling loved is really the one thing that we all want. Like
100%.
Nothing else. We all want to feel loved, right?
Well, that's it. Like, money can't buy happiness at all. Like, it can buy opportunity that will make you happier for a period of time, but until you learn to be internally satisfied with yourself, your gifts, and actually find your purpose and a reason to wake up every morning, that's why, like, so many people, like the percentage rate of rich millions of people who make millions of dollars a year, who are high, leaders and whatnot, like, you think, all right, they've got absolutely everything, and then they commit suicide and jump off a building. But and it happens all the time. Like, people don't talk about it enough, but it literally happens every single day. Like, it's ridiculous. And that's simply because people don't know their purpose. They're relying on materialistic things to feel loved, and they're searching for love constantly. But it really, 100%, like, I guess you don't blame anyone for anything, but your upbringing literally will kind of be your foundation for what you do, how you act, how you can react, how you're allowed to act, how you feel like you're, what you want to pursue in life, because you're guided by those parent figures or whoever, you were brought up with. So for me, it was always, like, my dad's very much a visionary too. Like, he's all go, 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 go. But he always told me, you're nothing pretty much if you don't go to uni, you don't study, you don't get a good job, you're not going to have anything nice in life. And he dug that every single time that I saw him. He would say that you don't want to be like your mom and manipulate me. And like, he would literally every single time I saw him all through my childhood would say, you've got to work hard in school. And he never went to uni. That's the thing. He never went to uni, but he thought he probably did. He's a successful businessman with his own things. He's an entrepreneur. But yeah, he dug that into me every single day that I got to a point where I just couldn't take it anymore. And I literally had to get like counseling because I thought the only, like, so much pressure, for an 8, 10, 13-year-old girl to have to deal with. So, and then my mum was on the other spectrum where she's like, oh, you do what you love, you do your best at it, and, you live the life that you want to live. So I had, two different people in my ear the whole time, kind of like, their opinions obviously mattered to me because they were my parents, but it was depending on which opinion I listened to was going to determine the outcome. So a lot of the time when I was depressed all through that time, I felt so worthless. I felt like, because I wasn't earning enough money, like literally not earning the same, like I felt like always had to I guess, like, this comes down to daddy issues, I guess, always feel like I had to prove something to my dad.
Yes.
Like I had to make enough money, and if I was struggling, it was very much like, well, go sort it out, make more money, got to work harder. Like there's no sympathy. And then my mum as well, she had sympathy, but she didn't know how, because of her past, didn't know how to express it either. So she would, like, we never said I love you growing up or whatever, hugged very much, but my dad was the opposite. So it's just interesting. They had differences, but also other differences that I actually needed from them. So I don't know. It's really interesting. Anyway, so I think that from my upbringing, it kind of led me down the path of where I was, and the choices I made from my perception. So yeah.
So that's so interesting, Holly. And what you just described is what you've got your mum and your dad coming from different perspectives, shall we say, and giving you different beliefs, right? Because that's what they give us, our beliefs. That's where we get them from.
Yeah.
People closest to us, and most of the time, and then society and all of that. And of course, we know, you and I know, that our beliefs are not real. However, they are given to us. And you've got the same thing, that you've got like that, and that's what we have going on in our head. Like we have the part of us that wants to have more, be more, do more, strive, reach goals. And then we have the part of us that brings up all the negative dialogue and says, you can't do this, or, I know people who failed, you might fail too, and all those things that come up for us. So you kind of described what goes on in most people's heads, only most people don't realize what it is, that it's actually just those thoughts coming from
That's it. And it's like the other people, and that's what's really important, like who you hang around as well. It's like, because their limiting beliefs will come onto you pretty fast, right? And that's why it's so important that you're surrounded by people with the same vibration, the same energy, the same vision, and the same, I don't know, the same kind of, love, belief. I don't know what you want to call it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and as you say, who you hang around with, and everyone believes their beliefs until you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, everyone. That's it. Like everyone has like these ideas and these beliefs, and they're going to only tell you what they believe because you only know what you know, right? And if you're stuck in a mentality that you've believed your whole life, then obviously, like, for example, I thought, my mum told me my whole life that I had to keep potatoes out of the fridge. They weren't supposed to be in the fridge because they'd poison you. Anyway, and then my ex's mum, she used to keep potatoes in the fridge. I'm like, oh, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to keep in the fridge. And they're like, no, I don't think so. I think it's fine. But that was a belief that I believed the whole time. So, of course, I was going to tell them what my belief system was about. And then to this day, I actually don't know anymore.
Well, I think I learned that you don't keep potatoes in the fridge too, and you don't keep them in the light, because otherwise in the light they go green and they'll poison you.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? But like you say, people think our beliefs are true. And people don't realize that our beliefs are actually just given to us from society, from people that love us, from other people. And like you say, when you've got other people around you is saying, and they swear that that's the way it is, this is the way that something is.
Yeah.
And until you realize that, it's like Einstein, and when he did the theory of relativity, and he explained how everything's relative. So until you realize that that is their perspective, and you can stand back and have another perspective. And I love the way he explains it, where he says, well, the earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Right? We all know that, right? The earth is spinning. And yet when you go outside and you look up on a calm day, not the kind of day it is today in Auckland, which is blowing a gale, but when you look up in the sky on a calm day, you'd swear that we were standing still, right?
Yeah, that's exactly.
There's no way that you believe that we were all spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And what that means to us, he said, was that one person can be looking at a situation, or two people can be looking at something, the same thing. And for one person, it's in their past, and another person, it's in their future. And they're both right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's one thing that I, found it hard to define the difference to as well is being honest and having faith and trusting someone in regards to also being a critical thinker and not believing what everyone tells you. So that's also another thing. And you really got to take a step back and kind of analyze your purpose, your values, and does this resonate? Because we only know what we know, right? So that's another thing.
Yeah. Yes, so true. Love having these kinds of conversations with you, Holly. So let's go to my question. Is you answered the first one beautifully. If you were giving mentoring to a new and budding entrepreneur, what would you say to them? What would be your secret formula for success that you know has worked for you and you would share it with someone else?
Yeah. So starting off is always exciting, but also scarcity will come into mindset all the time, because it's like, all right, how long is this going to take? How much money is it going to cost me? Who do I invest in? How does this going to work? Should I even do this? Like, there's all these little like limiting beliefs that will come in. So the first thing you really need to decide is this in line with my purpose? Like, I work with so many people and they go and they're like, yes, I'm in this, I'm going to do it. And they get halfway through building this business and they realize they don't want to do it. They're like, this is not me. This isn't my purpose. So then we reevaluate. You do the purpose workshop that I take them through. You've got to find your purpose. Ask yourself specific questions. And a really great question to ask yourself is, what would you do every single day if you didn't get paid for it? Every single day. Like, and you literally worked 8 hours a day. You didn't get paid for it and you were thrived off it. You loved it. That's a really like the first question to pretty much ask yourself. And there's a million other things to do to find your purpose. But number one, find your purpose to make sure if this business opportunity and the business you're stepping into is actually in line with your values and your purpose. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you need a plan and you need to be able to show up. So for example, if you're a coach, or the entrepreneur space is large, so it's everyone's completely different, but no matter what space you're in, you're going to have a plan. And I really suggest hiring someone or getting a mentor that's done what you've done and learn from them, and just surround yourself with other entrepreneurs. Like, that is also really important. Go to networking events, go to meetups, join a mastermind, get a coach, like just be in the entrepreneur environment and you'll start thriving off like the vibes of these people, and you'll start thinking like them. You'll start acting like them in a way that entrepreneurs act and think differently to just the average 9-to-5 person who loves that. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, obviously, but an entrepreneur mindset, we're visionaries. Like, we're constantly thinking, what's the next step? Or how can I fix this? Like, how can I make the world a better place? So if you can surround yourself with those people, you end up, I guess they call it like, the typical mastermind scenario where, you get all these people in the same room and you bounce ideas off each other and it comes into something amazing that you manifest. So number one is knowing your purpose and make sure that's in line with your vision, your values, and the business that you want to launch. The second thing is to make sure you have a coach or a mentor so you can actually start creating the plan to put forward to build this business, and surrounding yourself with the right people would be the third one. But the number one thing out of all this is you've got to accept that this is going to be pretty much like a journey, and a journey isn't like straight, which that would be boring. It's always going to be up and down. You'll have good days, you'll have bad days, you'll have awesome weeks, you'll have bad weeks. Like, and it's your perception of these weeks. So my perception used to be like, oh, today's a terrible day, tomorrow hopefully will be better. But you have got to get rid of that mindset. It's got to be, this is, the more stressed you are, the more you're doing, it's the more opportunity. So if you think the more stressed you are, the more you're doing in regards to not just, doing work, but actually doing things that are going to be able to help you move your business forward, generate revenue, help pursue your purpose, whatever it is. You've just got to make sure that on those low points that you are stepping up and you say to yourself, this is just a day. Like, this is not a good day. This is not a bad day. This is just a day. And every day is going to be whatever I create and whatever I make it. So you've got to choose that on those low points that you've got to keep pushing. And that's a high performance habit that I also teach as well, is like on those low points when you actually feel like shit. I'm not sure if I'd say that on here, but I feel terrible. You have to learn to not be attached to your emotions and take the next step and go, what can I do to get on top? What can I always do to be on top all the time and one step ahead of my emotions? Like, that's what you have to always do. Once you get low, you feel horrible, you've got to get back on top. How can I get on that high vibration every time? It's really hard because you're not in control of your emotions all the time. We don't feel like it, right? So that's actually a habit you have to build.
I love that, Holly. And I love that you said your purpose. Like, the first thing, that so many people do not know what is their why. Why are they here?
Yeah.
You know, it goes deeper than anything else. It's like, I believe that we're all, and you obviously do too, that we're all on this earth in this physical body for this time, however long it is, to do a job, to do something that's much bigger than our own personal family, our own circle of friends. It's much, much bigger than that. And it's something that I always ask myself, any decision I have to make, this is going to further me towards my,
That's it.
you know, working my purpose.
Yeah, that's
So
exactly
I
right.
love that you brought that up.
Yeah, thank you.
And those were 3 great tips for, you know, every entrepreneur to look at those 3 things and say, is this going to serve my purpose? And really, you know, really look at and expecting it to be a bit of a journey as well at the end. I love that you said those things because it's so true.
Yeah, 100%.
So, Holly, the next question, what would be your biggest challenges while you're growing your business and have been growing your business?
Yeah, well, I guess one of them is definitely the highs and lows, typically what I just talked about, and actually creating that habit that, you know, life is not over and your business isn't over or destroyed if you have one bad day. You know, you've got to learn to be patient, knowing that if you are actually in the business you're supposed to be in, this is not going to be a 12-month journey. This is going to be a 12-year journey for you. So if this is something that you really want to do, you got to think, all right, in 12 years time, where am I going to be? So that's something that I've always had to remind myself of as well. Like the quick wins are great, but you know, the quick wins are just quick wins. And for the longevity of your business, that's the reason. That's why you've got to put in the work. It's for the longevity, not for the quick wins for the next 12 months. So you've got to look at the vision. But my biggest challenge is, definitely making sure that I listen to the right people, actually. So my biggest challenge is, like, you know, with my friends, people from school, even, you know, friendship groups or any kind of groups, family, the big one, is you got to be really careful who you believe and who you listen to. Like we were talking about limiting beliefs earlier. Like they have their own like belief systems, and you only know what you know, and they have their own limiting beliefs, which means if they believe that you can't be a successful author, then they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you that that's not true. And that's so easy for you to actually believe that as well. If you care, if you care about that person and you care about their opinion, like if they're your mum or dad. So that's a really big thing. And that's why I said in the second step with, you know, if you're just starting out as an entrepreneur, that you surround yourself with also like-minded, positive entrepreneurs who understand the journey you're going through. I'm grateful that I've been surrounded by some amazing people, and especially like Adrian Lee is a really great mentor of mine. We've worked together for almost probably 3 years now. And he has been through like the whole entrepreneur journey with me. And he knows everything that's happened, ups and downs, but because he's already been through it, he can be there to guide me and know that it's okay. It's not going to last forever. Focus on what matters. Like it's always those little things that we forget about. So that's really important to have mentors and people surrounded that are going to give you the right advice.
So true, Holly. I love that. So talking about that, what is your dream and vision for your business and life, say in the next 6 to 12 years?
Yeah, love that. So 30 days to happiness in the next, 10 to 12 years. I want it to be an empire for like habit building, but also mental health. So the whole idea is if you stick to these habits, it's going to improve your mental health. It's going to improve your state of mind. It's going to improve your overall happiness. Everyone's definition of happiness is completely different. And that's why my podcast, every single episode, whoever I interview or whatever I talk about, it's their definition of happiness. So you get to learn different people's definitions, which is cool. But my vision for the next 12 years is to build 30 days to happiness, where we put on live events with thousands and thousands of people. They all come together. They get to be with like-minded people. They get to find friends. They get to find their purpose. They get to create better habits and start building their life that they want to live. So that is my absolute vision and dream, is to just make this a massive, like, worldwide events that we put on for people, where they can not just leave and feel inspired and come, like, I guess, go away with friends and a new sense of purpose and a vision, but also communities and small communities around the world, and courses and masterminds where we can just all come together during the weeks, where it's not that one big event, you walk away and you're like, oh, now what? But you constantly have that support all throughout your life. I think that's just, community is what people need, especially in the mental health industry. And yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Wow. We've got Kimmy here. Kimmy from the UK, and she says, awesome story, Holly.
Thank you.
Wow. So, Holly, that is amazing. I love your vision, and I actually do know that I know another business that's on a real parallel to that, and I'll talk to you about that afterwards.
That's awesome. Yeah, awesome.
But I love that you've got that vision, and you know what? As you know from the work that I do, I don't know if I've said to you, you've got that vision, you know that vision already exists.
Yeah,
right.
That's it.
It's already in existence. You just have to do certain things to bring it to this physical world.
That's exactly right. Gives me goosebumps thinking about that.
Yeah, there's not one thing that you can, as humans, that we can think up. There's not one thing that if we can think it up, the universe and our body and mind and soul and everything doesn't know how to bring to fruition. So that is totally possible. Like you say, you want to be surrounded with the right people. You want to be keep working on your mindset and keep growing your level of awearness, and you will achieve this. And as soon as you said that, I was like, I'll tell you about it afterwards. So Holly, we're going to keep it secret from our viewers. So Holly, we're going to wrap it up now. Cool. Before we do, I'd love to know if there's any final message you'd like to give to people who watch this broadcast later. It is live, however, a lot of people come in and watch them later. What would you like to say to everybody watching this broadcast if you had one final comment?
Yeah, it's if anything resonated to you, write it down. And if you are an entrepreneur starting out, write down the 3 things I discussed in regards to starting, because it's really important that you know your purpose, you surround yourself with like-minded people, you create a plan to get help, and you learn to be patient. You learn to be patient along the way. So everything that you hear and listen to, there's no point just listening to it and forgetting about it. Write it down, implement it, start taking action on the things that you actually resonate with you, because as I say in my podcast, no action is pretty much wasted opportunity. So, yeah, hope you can take that away.
Yeah, you're so true. And we have a quote, inspiration without action is merely entertainment.
Yep, that's it. And I remember that one from you.
Yeah, and it's so true. So the action is the grounding energy and we all, nothing will happen if we don't take action. It's all very well having an idea as an entrepreneur, starting a business, hoping that things will happen, but actually it's about the action and all the other things that you've mentioned, of course, Holly. So on that point, let's wrap it up. How can people get hold of you, Holly? We will put we'll put some links and things up on the post, but if you just talk to it now, then people who are listening can hear.
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn as Holly Smith, or Instagram as Holly Smith Holly_Smith00. Otherwise, www.30daystohappiness.com.au. Everything's pretty much on there.
That is beautiful. So on that note, we'll say goodbye. Thank you to people coming in, and thank you to those of you watching afterwards. And I'll see you in the back room, Holly.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.